All right, thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate it very much. It's kind of a nice day out there, but hopefully it'll get better. A couple of quick things about myself, then I'll go around the room, have you all introduce yourself, and we'll take a bunch of quick questions. My name's Scott Sherman. I'm running for City Council here in District 7. The new map is back here, so it'll show you the actual boundaries of the new District 7. I've lived in this neighborhood my entire life. Well, moved out a little bit when I was young for a couple of years, but when I came back, I'm in LA Gardens, and that's where I wanted to come back to. Live in the house that we grew up in. My wife and I bought it from the guy my dad sold it to about 10 years ago. I'm a husband, father, grandfather, and for the last 20 years here in San Diego, I've been a small business owner. I've owned my own business in one form or another since I was 24 years old. Being a longtime San Diegan, I've been watching the political scene at City Hall, and I see a lot of the decisions that are being made down there, and I wonder and think to myself, has anybody down there ever been involved in running or owning a business? And the more I look, the more I have to understand that the answer is no. They don't make decisions like we would in a business. In my business, I appreciate where every dollar I get comes from, because it doesn't have to come to me. It could go down to the person down the street. We don't get that kind of service from City Hall. The people at City Hall don't understand that concept, and it needs to change. I think there's some things we can do that would change that mindset at City Hall. The first one's on the ballot this June. It's comprehensive pension reform. My wife Norma and I are big supporters. We were out walking door to door, gathering signatures. I know in my business, if I had to pay everybody who worked for me full salary not to work for me, my doors would be closed pretty quick. In my business, we have a 401k, we have a full boat health care for our employees, and we have employees that have been there for over 30 years, so we must be doing something right. We also are allowed to give incentive and bonuses to our employees, which is a little bit different. So I think pension reform needs to pass. And we've seen in the past with our city council, it needs to be implemented once it's passed. We voted for managed competition at City Hall 6 years ago. They've managed competition out and put out to bid 3 different city services. Only 3 in 6 years. Most of them have been just recently because it's an election year. That needs to change. I own an insurance business. We insure homes, autos, businesses, life, health, that type of thing. My job as an insurance professional is to go out and get as many options for you as possible, give you those options, and then let you make a decision. That doesn't happen down at City Hall. There's one option. That's it. There's no other way for us to see if we're getting a good value for our taxpaying dollar. We need to implement managed competition more aggressively. There are a lot of services out there that can be looked at. Like I said, the third thing is streamlining the process at City Hall, making it easier to do business down there. Like I said, I insure business. I have one client of mine whose entire business is getting people to understand how to get through the permitting process at City Hall. In my business, if you came to me and wanted an insurance quote and I had to send you to a third party so you could understand how to do business with me, I wouldn't be writing a lot of insurance. We need to change that. I have another person I know. Entire job is to stand in line at permitting at City Hall. He has a person on staff, and that's all they do is stand in line. I don't know if I'd like that job. We have a big fiscal problem. We look at our streets, we look at our libraries and our park systems, we look at the core city services that the city should provide, and they're not being taken care of because we're spending money somewhere else. And the city doesn't have the appreciation for the tax dollar. Good example, Tecolote Canyon the other day. They wanted to remove some non-native plant species, some big palm trees that were growing up down there in the canyon. Couldn't disturb their surrounding wildlife. So what they did is they decided to spend $950,000 to cut down some trees, hook up some helicopters to them, and airlift the trees out of the canyon. With 30% unemployment in the construction industry, I guarantee you we can get some chainsaws and a bunch of guys and get a human chain going up the side of the hill, cut those trees into little pieces, have them handed up the side of the hill, and you won't have any damage to the environment. And if it is, we can take care of it right away to where some water and some fertilizer, you wouldn't even see it after a few weeks. Those kind of common sense attitudes need to come to City Hall. The other big thing I want to do is get rid of baseline budgeting in City Hall. The idea that you have to spend what you spent last year or you're not going to get funded is foreign to me. In our business, we go back to zero every year. We look at trends, we look at revenues, we look at one-time expenses, we look at all these things that are coming up in the next year, and we've come up with a budget then. Then the idea, once we come up with that budget, is to come in under budget and still provide services and save some money. The idea that you have to spend everything doesn't make sense to me. In business, our goal is to do more with less, to have a good service in the most cost-effective, most efficient manner possible, and return that savings back to our customers. That's what needs to be happening at City Hall, and it doesn't happen. I'm not against unions. I'm against the system we have now. The system we have now, union bosses have been negotiating with City Hall, and they're one and the same. That can't happen anymore. It needs to be different. We need to get people who are from the neighborhood, from the private sector, come down to City Hall, fix the problem, and then go back to the private sector and take care of the business in which they came from. Our family business is over 30 years old. When we win this thing in June, my wife, my father, and my business partners will be taking care of the business, so we don't have to worry about that. Just take the business mind to City Hall, clean up our mess, and return the services to our neighborhoods. We need to grow our way out of this. We have to. We have to make business want to come here. We have to make them want to bring their careers, their jobs, and their tax dollars with them, so we can improve the life and quality for the taxpayers of San Diego. And that's really what I'm about. I just want to get down there, take a business mind to City Hall, clean up the fiscal mess, and get our neighborhoods back to the way I remember when I was a kid growing up in the neighborhood. So with that, I'm going to throw it open to any questions that anybody may have.